In this video, I'll be talking about everything Apple announced at WWDC. Now, Apple did announce quite some few items, and I wanted to talk about each and every item that they did announce. Now, I will be looking over here because there is a lot to talk about when it comes to Apple and everything they announced at WWDC. So anyway, let's start the video. First off, they announced a product that people knew that they were going to come out with. Now, it's kind of a in-home speaker that's supposed to rival like the Amazon Echo, the Google Home, Sonos speaker. The only problem is it's very expensive, so it's kind of competing with those high-end speaker devices, kind of like the Sonos home speakers. Now, it's called the HomePod. I don't know if I really like the name of this product, considering it's called the HomePod. I really wish they would have made something with Siri, like Siri Home or iSiri or Hey Siri or something like that. I really wish they went with a better name when it comes to Siri. I know Hey Siri probably wouldn't be a good idea, because if you say Hey Siri on your iOS Apple device, then it'll automatically go off and Siri will start trying to ask you questions. So that's probably not the best one. I just wish they would have named it something different than HomePod. But I guess HomePod works for trying to still keep the iPod branding alive, even though iPods are technically dead. I think they still make the Shuffle, and I think they still make the iPod Touch. But outside of the iTouch and I think the iPod Shuffle, they're pretty much dead when it comes to the Classic and comes to the iPod Nano. I think those are dead. Don't quote me on this because I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think those devices are dead. But I do know they still make iPods today. The HomePod is very expensive. It comes in at $350. It's not super expensive, but for a speaker like this, it is expensive. Excuse me. People have tested this and they did say it is 100% better than what you'll get with like a Google Home or what you get with like a Amazon Echo. The sound of this is amazing. I also heard from people too, it can detect if it's close to a wall, and it can readjust its speaker so it'll sound better if you have it too close to a wall or too close to objects. You don't have to rearrange it. Apparently it's supposed to have detection for that, and that is very awesome. Now, I'm not 100% sure if it has Siri built in. I don't think it has Siri built in for like asking normal day questions, so it's not a replacement for an Amazon Echo or a Google Home. I think you can only ask it music related questions. Don't quote me on that again, because I'm not 100% sure. You may be able to ask it generic questions just like Siri, so it may have Siri built in and you may get to use every feature of Siri, but as far as I'm aware, you cannot use every feature on it like an actual Siri you use on your iPad or your iPhone and things like that. This thing comes in two different colors. It's going to come a white and a black. I'm trying to see when the release date for this is. I don't think there's a release date. There may be a release date. It says it's supposed to be coming out in December for people in the US, UK, and Australia. So yes, they did say it's shipping in December. I don't know if shipping means you get it in December or if that's just when they're shipping the product. But it looks like somewhere around December you'll be able to get HomePod or order the HomePod right there. Honestly, what I can say is I think it looks pretty nice. It doesn't look like an air freshener, and it doesn't look as big as the Amazon Echo, but I think for a product like this we'll have to see and wait. 350 is on the upper end of these type of devices, and I don't know how many people are really going to buy one for 350, considering we already have the Amazon Echo, the Google Home, even you already have assistants on your phone and things like that. So I don't know if 350 is the right price, but if it does have amazing sound, 350 is not unreasonable and not unrealistic, just due to the fact that if it sounds amazing and it's almost the same sound quality as a Sonos speakers, that is awesome. If you've never used a Sonos speakers, they are very expensive, but they produce really good sound for the money. So that's what they're really trying to compete with. I think when it comes to services too, they said only Apple Music will be available when it comes out. I think, don't quote me on that one again, but I think I'm pretty sure this somewhere or someone said that it was only Apple Music, so you can't use Spotify, you can't use other services. If you want to, unfortunately, you're stuck to Apple Music. But again, of course, it is an Apple device. Apple Music, of course, makes sense. Hopefully in the future that they do unlock it to use Spotify and other streaming services, or hopefully my whole thing is wrong right now and you can use other streaming services. You will have to check more on that later, because I'm not 100% sure on that. Going down the list, they're releasing a new iMac called the iMac Pro. I think it's coming out I don't even know when the release date of this is, but they are making an iMac Pro. The only problem with the iMac Pro, it's for enthusiasts or people who are like really needing a powerful computer. I heard the specs on that. Can't find the specs anywhere, but I heard the specs are monster. It looks like this might be it. I think it has a 5K display, 8 core Xeon processor, up to 18. You can get it also up to 18 cores, 4 terabyte SSD, 128 gig ECC memory, and that's faster than an SSD. If you're not aware, that's 100% faster than an SSD, and it looks like it has a 10 gigabyte Ethernet. So yes, this looks like it is the iMac Pro. The only problem with the iMac Pro, it has ungodlike specs, but the problem is it's $5,000. So you really have to make sure that you are going to be using it and need a computer that beefy, because $5,000 is something you really have to think about when you're throwing down the cash. Sure, it may be worth it. I'm not saying it's not worth it. What I'm saying is, even if it is worth $5,000, that's a lot of money to put up just for a computer, unless you gotta have those beefy specs. It also looks like it's gonna have 3 Thunderbolt 3 ports. It says 8 core Exynos processor, and then it says upgradable up to 18 cores, so you can pick and choose if you want 8 core or 18 core. Obviously, if you go with the 18 core, it's going to cost you a lot of money, but it's going to be a beefy computer. So the iMac Pro is one heck of a beast. It looks like it's a godlike computer, but it's going to cost you, I think, $5,000, which I've been hearing people talk about, which is insane for a computer. Actually, it's insane for any device, because you can even buy, like, there's so much you can buy with $5,000, so I'm not 100% sure on that price tag. Also, they did refresh the iMac line, so if you're an iMac user or if you're thinking about getting an iMac, and it's an all-in-one computer, as we know. They've been making them for years, but they are refreshing them. The base model right now starts at $1,099 for the 21.5-inch model, and then they also have a 4K model, which is $1,299 model. It says MacBooks are also getting an upgrade as well. The MacBook Pro is starting at $1,299, which includes the update. They're giving the MacBook Pros a Kaby Lake processors, so you are going to be getting the new processors in the MacBook Pro if you want to get the newest and latest and greatest. The iMac Pro. Well, yes, the iMac Pro is going to start at $5,000, and I don't even think that's the 18-core model. So if you wanted the 18-core model maxed out, that can run you $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. We can go on and on about the price point. So this thing is very expensive. I think for the mainstream user, or even for the casual user, or even for the intense user, $5,000 is a little bit too much. Because be honest, you can build a pretty beast computer for around $1,000, even $2,000 if you want a lot of features. So that is very, very expensive for a computer, $5,000. But I'm not disagreeing, and I'm not saying it's not powerful. It's a monster, honestly. But $5,000 again is a lot to think about when it comes to anything in this lifetime or anything in this world. It says iOS 11 is coming with new features. One thing they did show off that iOS 11 is going to have, it's going to have a redesigned notification. Jesus, I forgot what it's actually called. I apologize, but the notification, I forgot what it's called. The part where you get all your toggles from, if you know what I'm talking about, they're revamping that, and you're going to be able to pick and choose which toggles you want on your notification or your toggle tray. You can actually customize it, which is very cool. A lot of people were complaining it looks very chunky, it looks very weird. I personally, right out the gate, didn't like it, but now I love it. I'm one of those people as well. I'm not gonna lie, it looks kind of weird. The notification center, yeah, I think it's called Notification Center or something like that. I could be wrong again, but I'm pretty sure it's called Notification Center, and they're actually changing that up, and the whole thing's being redesigned. A lot of complaints, but a lot of people said that it's very finicky the way it is, so if they revamp it, it's going to be much more smoother and much more accurate, and it's going to work way better than it does today, because some people are still complaining today that it's very finicky and stuff like that. So it is glad we are getting a new notification center on iOS 11, and they are going to give us more toggles and more switches right there, so more quick settings, so for you to and it looks like you can pick and choose which quick settings do you want. Do you want your flashlight on? Do you want the Wi-Fi toggle on, the Bluetooth toggle on, etc., 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 which is very nice. And then outside of iOS 11, it looks like this is the first time we're getting a true new upgrade to iOS. So in iOS 11, you're going to be able to it's going to basically be a new skin on it. It's going to have different colors. It's going to have a new theme based on iOS 11. One thing they are changing in iOS 11, 100% sure, is they're giving us a whole redesigned app store. So the app store is going to be very different in iOS 11. But a lot of people said it's for the better. I haven't seen any pictures of the new App Store in iOS 11, but the new App Store is coming in iOS 11. And then here is one feature in iOS 11 which you may or may not like, depending on what person you are. But I think that for the most part, for everybody's well-being, this is a very good feature Apple done. I think every company should do this if you have like a tablet, a smartphone, and things like that. But do not disturb in iOS 11 is going to mandatory come on, and make sure that when you're driving, you're not going to be able to use your phone, text your friends, be on the internet, etc., etc. So it's going to cut off all connections to the outside world while you're driving, because you cannot tell me, guys, there's one important call or one important anything that you need while you're driving. Sure, you can say someone's dying, but for your safety and for other people's safety, it's a very big deal. If you really have to connect with somebody, what you can do is pull off to the side of the road and then make your phone call, make your text, do whatever you have to do before you're driving, because driving is not a game, and it's not something you can take lightly. So many people have died by texting and driving. It's insane. And I'm glad Apple is really caring about the well-being of human beings, the well-being of human beings. But Apple is really caring about the well-being of humans as a whole, and they're making sure people are not texting and not using their phone while they're driving. So it will be a mandatory thing when it comes to iOS 11, and honestly, I am very happy they're doing that. So no more texting and driving. But sure, you can still use your phone probably. You just can't text, call, whatnot. You can do other stuff, but you just can't do that. And I think that's a smart move from Apple to do that, just because it's very dangerous. There's no reason you should be texting, talking, things like that on the phone while you're driving. If it's that important, you should pull off to the side of the road, because life is precious. So that's very good on them. And then it says also Siri has some improved speech. Photo capture is also improved. Also, I did see from another YouTube video, I did see the fact that now you can do screen recording on the iPhone, which is going to be very convenient, especially if you're a YouTuber or you need to record the screen for some instance, or maybe you have some important documents or you need proof for something. That'll be nice. Instead of taking a screen cap, now you can take screen recording, which is very nice. Also, I did see that they are going to be improving screen capturing. Once you screen capturing it, it'll actually throw a little box, a little preview of the screen capture you just took in the bottom left hand corner or right hand corner of the screen, and then you can actually click on it and you can actually draw on it and stuff like that. So they're improving the way that you screen cap and screen record now, which is very cool. Actually, if you know me in person, I absolutely use screen capture all the time on my smartphone. I'm capturing things that are important, things that I need. I'm just capturing things. So it's glad that they're really focusing on screen capturing and screen recording in iOS 11. It depends what person you are, but for me, I use that feature all the time, whether it be on my computer, my smartphone, my tablet. I love screen cap, and I think screen cap's very, very useful. Let's go on. Also, it looks like iOS 11 for iPad brings better multitasking, because people have been complaining in the past that, oh, iPads are not true computer replacements. And you know, Apple has always been, at least for a while now, Apple has been saying, look guys, these are just as powerful as some computers out there, and they can replace your computer. But people said, nope, they really can't. It depends, obviously, what you're doing. If you were to ask me, do iPads replace computers or laptops? Again, it depends, because technically they are computers. They have a processor, they have memory, they have RAM, so technically they are a computer. And technically, if all you're doing is browsing the web, that can be your true computer replacement. But for most people, and for the most part, if you were to ask most tech enthusiasts, they'd probably say, nope, it doesn't replace a computer, because, well, we don't got a traditional keyboard and mouse, we don't got the same apps. The problem is you're still using apps on an app store instead of, you're not using Windows-based programs or Mac OS programs. You're using apps, and apps aren't the same quality as regular programs on like a desktop or a PC. So I can see where they're really trying to focus on making the experience for iPads much more closer to the computer counterparts when it comes to the software and to the user experience. They're really trying to do that, because that's what they keep toting, or they keep promoting from here. You can still know that Apple is still really trying to promote that their iPads can replace a computer. And iOS 11 is bringing a whole bunch of multitasking features. On the iPad, iOS 11 improves multitasking that lets users pull up an app from the dock and drag it into the screen to split screen, similar to what you can do on a MacBook. So they're bringing a lot of MacBooky features over to the iPad line, which I think is a good move. So you'll have the dock just like you have on a Mac. If you've ever seen a Mac, when you're on the when you're on your desktop, you have a bar at the bottom. Now you can drag apps and put them to split screen, which I think is a very good move. But also, I do actually kind of worry too, is the iPad going to become a computer? Because I don't want the iPad line to really replace computers. Although it is cool, I still want them to have the same app experience, because when I use an iPad, I use it for multimedia for the most part, and I use it for browsing the web. I don't really use it for true workstation. I use it more for like just relaxing, playing games, multitasking, multimedia, mostly multimedia, whether it be music consumption, internet consumption, or watching Netflix or video consumption. That's what I use my iPad for. If I want to use another device, that's why I have a tablet or that's why I have a computer or a laptop around if I want to replace those. Hopefully they change it too much. Hopefully it still feels like an iPad and the apps are still there and it's still app based and it really does feel like an iPad, because that's what I buy an iPad for. But I can see that some people want to use it, and it is going to be cool in the fact that just for the iPad alone, that some people may want to use an iPad for a laptop replacement, because even the smallest laptops still don't beat like the smallest tablets. Tablets are so thin, so portable, and Apple does have that for like the bigger iPads, or even I think the iPad 9.7 Pro. They do actually have that keyboard. They do have a keyboard that snaps onto it. The smart keyboard cover, something like that. You guys know probably what I'm talking about, and that's one thing that they have, so I can see why they really want to make it for that. And if they already have the keyboard for it that snaps on, wouldn't they want to make it more like a computer? Hopefully if it does become more like a computer over time, hopefully maybe you can have two different modes if the processing power is enough. Maybe like on Mac OS, for instance. When you use Mac OS, you can use Boot Camp and you can boot into Windows and you can boot into Mac OS. Hopefully if they try to make this into a computer, they can make it boot up one into like a computer workspace area, and then one back, then you can boot back into iOS and you'll still have the whole app experience, because I do love using the app experience on a tablet. And then you can boot into the other mode, which would actually allow you to do, honestly, you'd have to have a lot of processing power and you'd have to figure out a way. Right now, obviously, it's not, I don't know if they're powerful enough, and obviously there's not enough features there to warrant that kind of thing yet, because it's not even close to a desktop or a laptop OS experience just yet. But I was just saying, in the future, if that ever happens to where it becomes so sophisticated, they make it have so many features that it doesn't feel like an iPad anymore, they can have multi-boot on that one. Okay, next up, they have, here we go. They have a new iPad Pro coming out sometime this year. It's called the 10.5-inch iPad Pro. So I don't think they're going to have the 12.9-inch iPad Pro anymore. I think the iPad Pro 12.9 might still be on the market and they might still make it, but I don't think they're going to update the internal. So if you want that one, unfortunately, you're going to be looking at bad specs. I mean, they're not garbage by any stretch of the imagination. I don't want you to think that I'm talking bad about that tablet, because I'm definitely not talking bad about the 12.9-inch iPad Pro tablet, because I'm not. I'm just saying it's unfortunate for people who love a big screen or a big tablet. Unfortunately, it looks like they're not updating it. So if you want an updated tablet with the biggest screen, you're going to have to go with the 10.5-inch iPad Pro. They're claiming it's 20% larger than the 9.7-inch iPad Pro currently on the market. It looks like it can support USB 3.0 and it still has the same 10-hour battery like any other iPad. And it looks like it's going to have a 12-megapixel camera just like the iPhone 7 with a 7-megapixel selfie camera. So it looks like it's going to be a pretty nice tablet overall. And also they are improving the experience for the Apple Pencil. If you ever were a fan of the iPad Pencil, this is going to be great, because now you can actually get more it's going to be more precise on the new iPad. There's a new feature called Pro Motion, which reduces the pencil latency, so basically there's not as much lag when you're using the iPad Pencil. Not to say that it was really bad in the beginning, but it's just nice that they're really caring about productivity. You can see where they're really caring about productivity with the new iPad when it comes to desktop-like features, and when it comes to the iPad Pencil, Apple is really trying hardly to kind of compete with laptops here when it comes to the iPad brand. And then last but not least, pretty much, we have a new update to the Mac OS line, or any the Mac operating system. We have Mac OS It was Sierra. Now it's High Sierra. I don't know if I really like the name of High Sierra, but they are going to be releasing High Sierra. I'm trying to see here. It's going to be supporting VR, so they're really trying to push that VR experience. They're claiming it can support VR with High Sierra, and then Metal 2 developer kit. No, they're pretty much focusing on a lot of it being the graphical side of things. That's why it can support VR. Also, they are going to be updating the watch interface for your Apple Watch. If you do have an Apple Watch, they will be updating it. Or if you're thinking about getting one and you're still on the fence, they are updating it. Watch OS 4 brings new Sierra watch features, fitness, coaching, and a new app browsing UI. So overall, it looks like the experience on the Apple Watch is getting better. So if you want to buy one, your experience is definitely going to be better. If you have one laying around and you never used it before, or you don't use it a lot, but you did buy one, you can try to use it again when that update comes out, and you may get more features and better stuff. So it looks like they're really caring about their Apple Watch. They did not abandon the Apple Watch. They're still working hard to try to make it a perfect and buttery smooth experience. Yep, and that's pretty much all that they covered in their announcement when it comes to all the stuff they announced. Obviously, they did not announce the iPhone 8 or the 10th anniversary iPhone because, well, that's usually around August, September. Actually, a lot of this stuff could have been in an October update as well, like the MacBooks and stuff like that, because if those aren't coming out for a while now, then why even announce them this early? Because announcing stuff this early, in my opinion, will just get lost in a lot of other stuff, because remember, E3 is out right now, and then CES, and then things like that, and then and then the iPhone announcement coming up in September. It's just hard to really remember all this, and some people may forget this stuff too, especially since it's like 6, 7, 8, 9 months for some of this items. I wish they would announce it closer to when it's releasing, so people would have enough time to remember it's actually coming out. If you're not a diehard Apple fan, if you're a casual Apple fan, or even if you're a medium kind of Apple fan, you may not remember everything, but obviously if you really do care about Apple, then you're going to remember this stuff, even though they just announced it in June. Trying to look at the Apple iPad and see if there's anything else. Nope, I don't really see anything else. I'm just trying to make sure I covered pretty much everything. Yep, I pretty much covered everything that they announced. There might be more stuff that they announced, but I don't remember what they announced, and I'm not seeing anything at this moment. So that's pretty much everything Apple announced at WWCD, I think it's called. Anyway, guys, peace out. I'll see you guys later in my next video. I'm out, guys.